Multiplication strategy 1, the extension ladder or extension strategy. This is all about extending the ladder by moving the decimal point to the right in your sums. So when you're multiplying by 10 or 100 or 1,000 or any number that ends in zeros, you move the decimal point the same number of places as the number of zeros in the multiplier. So it's very important to look at the number of zeros here. This strategy works for all tidy number multipliers, things like 20, 300 or 4,000, but in this first example we're just going to look at multiplying by 10 or 100 or 1,000. This question here, how much money do you have? You have 34 $10 notes. You have 34 $100 notes. So when we look at our multiplication sum here, 34 $10 notes is 34 lots of 10. Because obviously they're $10 each. So remember, in multiplication, that multiplication sign means lots of. So 34 lots of 10 is 34 times 10. So we think about what that number is with a decimal point. It's 34.0, or just 34, full stop, 34 point. And when we're multiplying by 10, we're going to move this decimal point one place to the right. Obviously, there's nowhere to move it at the moment, so you put in what's called a placeholder. And in maths, the placeholder is the number 0. So we move the decimal point along, pop in a placeholder, and it gives us our answer. Our answer is 340. Okay, if you've possibly been taught incorrectly in the past, you might have been told that you just add on a 0. You do not just add on zeros. You move the decimal point one place to the right and add in a placeholder. It's very important, and we'll talk about that in a second. This is the same sort of question, 34 $100 notes, so it's 34 lots of 100. In this case, you've again got 34 point nothing. And it doesn't matter how many zeros you put in there. You could put in 1 0 or 2 zeros. It doesn't matter how many zeros. They're just placeholders. They don't change the fact that this is still 34. What they do help is that when you've then got to multiply it by 100, you look and you see there are 2 zeros in the multiplier. 2 zeros in the multiplier. So you've got to move your decimal point 2 places. So you're going to move it there, and you can see that the number would then be 3400 point. So the answer is 3400. Okay. Again, you might have been taught by a bad teacher that all you do is look at these 2 zeros and add on 2 zeros. You do not just add on 2 zeros. You move the decimal point. The reason for that is because sometimes numbers don't end in 0. In this case, you've got 3.84 times 100. And in this case, if you just added on 2 zeros, it would still be 3.84. It would just be 3.8400, which is still just 3.84. What you are doing is moving the decimal point every time. So it's 3.84, and you're going to multiply it by 100. So again, there are 2 zeros in 100. So you start with 3.84 and you move the decimal point once and twice. So the decimal point is going to move to after the 4, and that's your answer. The answer is 384 or 384. Okay, that is why we're not just adding zeros. If anyone ever tells you just adding zeros, they're wrong. You are moving the decimal point, the number of zeros. Okay, moving the decimal point by the number of zeros in the multiplier.